Hey everyone, how's it going today? And welcome back to another third stimulus check unemployment benefits extension update. So we have a lot of brand new updates to share about several states, but the big thing really is that, as most of you guys know, maybe to start off, is that last week Maryland was the most recent state that was able to officially win their injunction to bring back unemployment. Because as we kind of mentioned, we talked a lot about that in one of the previous videos, which I'll put at the end screen. It's literally just called Really Great News. So you can kind of consider this as like the second part 2 to that, although a lot of people saw that already, so huge thanks about it. But the idea is that last week, as most of you guys know, is that Maryland was able to win their injunction in order to officially bring back their unemployment. The only thing about that injunction is that that injunction was only meant to last for about 10 days, so essentially about 1 to 2 weeks. But the really relatively great promising news is that there will now be another, so the second hearing for Maryland's lawsuit case is going to now officially be tomorrow from release date. So if you are watching this on release date, or if you're watching into the future because it is still applicable, it's going to be on Friday, July 9th, 2021. And the idea is that after this second hearing, we're going to officially, or at least certainly, hear a lot more information now about the actual injunction, if they're able to hopefully now put it in place. The goal, what is going on right now there is that they're hoping that if they're able to win the second injunction, they can now officially bring back the unemployment all the way until the case actually physically closes. And the really great news is that if you happen to be in Maryland right now is that Governor Hogan, who is actually still trying to attack the lawsuit, he's already been sued actually twice, and both times the great news is it has actually been in favor of the people. So basically you and I, us together. And so the great news is that it looks very, very promising right now, that it's going to lean towards the side of the people. But we just of course have to wait for it to be official, because when it comes to the hearing, you never know what they're going to say. It's very possible maybe he has a loophole, maybe he pulls something that's going on. But the idea is that once after tomorrow, we should hopefully finally hear the actual longer term decision and about whether or not they're able to continue the unemployment until pretty much when it's originally set to end, which is the beginning of September, as most of you guys know. But the idea is that we do have updates about a couple of other states. One more state that has officially just opened their lawsuit now, which we're going to talk about. So we're going to run through all of them. Now, even if I don't get to your state, it probably means if I don't manage to get to your state, it's probably because your state at this current time is still relatively quiet. So there's not a lot of updates, but I still think this is relatively insightful to hear, because as you guys probably know is that a lot of times it only took one state to end unemployment to create a domino and chain or snowball of just 20 other states that sadly also ended up following to end their unemployment. So the hope is that if one state is now able to officially completely win their case, so not just the injunction, but actually a closed official decision to completely bring it back, the hope is maybe, and we are actually already starting to see it already, that more states can maybe see what's actually possible and maybe be inspired to do it. So I still think it's relatively insightful to kind of learn what's going on regardless of the state you're in. So with that being said, we're going to get started right away, but as always, the same exact story. Consider smashing the like button in light of a lot of great news that has been happening, certainly promising news at least. Consider subscribing, hitting the bell for similar videos and other finance topics. And as always, feel free to comment any questions, thoughts, or any particular information that you might have in your particular state. So with that being said, let's get this video started. So the story with Maryland right now, to maybe continue on, is that it definitely is probably the state that looks one of the most promising. And I think really, if you want to know what really went on in that case last week, I believe is that they both pled their case. So they both, stated about what they believe in their statement. And I think that the judge ended up ruling on the side of the people, which is the great news. I think the specific reasoning or the response, if you're just interested in hearing, is that according to the judge in his words is that he mentioned about why unemployment should be able to continue, not just because it actually follows the law, but also because by not continuing it, it would cause irreparable harm, which is kind of the interesting story, because that actually is the exact reasoning why a lot of other states, we just kind of have to see, because again, the judge can be a little bit biased and there could be a little bit of politics involved. But the idea that the judge just simply believes is that if they end the unemployment, it's going to cause a lot of harm, not just to actually the people, because that obviously, because we're trying to sustain off of the unemployment, but actually, interestingly, even the economy. We talked a lot about that in one of the previous videos. I think it's literally just called Why Unemployment Should Continue, and I'll put it at the very end screen. Huge thanks if you guys already checked it out, because I know many people already saw it. But the idea is that I think the logic is that if they end up stripping away the unemployment, it actually hurts almost every single person. Obviously the people, because of taking away the program, but it actually even hurts the economy and the business within the state itself, because if people have less money, they also spend less money, and so businesses now start to struggle as well, and that kind of creates a chain now that more people struggle even more now. And then it's kind of strange. I don't even know why they would want to end it, especially because if they want to win their votes at this time, I don't think the best case to try to win people's votes in the future elections is to try to take away programs to help people. But that's really the situation, the case that's going on right now. Of course, hopefully we end up getting something a lot more official longer term soon. Now, the next state that we're really going to talk about is about one state that has now officially just opened their case, and that is going to be Ohio. So Ohio just opened up their case now. They have now officially joined the states of the lawsuits that are opening up. Because they're still new, we don't have a lot of information. We're definitely going to have to make an update about that when we hopefully get more information. But the great news is that if you happen to be in Ohio, the case now exists and it's now opened, and we can just hopefully hope for the best, especially if they're able to follow in with the footsteps of Maryland and Indiana, the other state that started and that was able to gain back their unemployment, even if it was just simply through an injunction. And I guess the next state that we're going to really talk about really quickly is about the Indiana story. So Indiana is a really interesting story, because Indiana, the great news is that they've officially won their injunction. But I know there's a lot of people in Indiana right now that even though we've won the injunction to get the unemployment back, they've actually been struggling to actually physically get the unemployment back, as in just to actually get it physically sitting into the bank account. The story with what's really going on there right now is that the great news is that by court, paper, and law, they've officially won the injunction to bring it back. But what's going on right now is that Governor Holcomb, he is not only trying to fight it right now and trying to appeal the case, even though it does not look in his favor, but what he is trying to do is that he's trying to bring up a lot of just situations, and the idea he's trying to essentially stop it from actually physically happening. So what this basically means is that by law and paper, we've already won the case, or won the injunction to bring it back. But what he's trying to do is that he's trying to physically make it difficult in order to get it back. I think one of the excuse that he's bringing up is the fact that because he already officially ended it, it also means that they have to go through a lot of logistics and barriers in order to bring it back. I think the idea what he's doing right now is he's just trying to make it difficult to actually logistically, physically bring back the unemployment, and that's really the biggest struggle that I think that's really going on there. I still say it's relatively great news because it's promising. In terms of what can be done from here, is I think the big thing is that because by document we've already kind of won the right to bring it back, I think the big thing is that if we're able to finally actually be a lot more strict about it and actually physically enforce it so that he actually basically does it. Think a little bit like, again, I've kind of used this example, but just, to bring it up because we do have some new people here, so huge welcome if you're new here. But imagine if maybe, you go through a debate and you've won the case, but, you have the right to physically do a certain something, but maybe you get handcuffed, or maybe they block the road, or maybe they just physically stop you, or maybe they hold you down, or maybe they just refuse to leave. And that's really the situation about what's going on there right now. Now, the fourth state that we're going to talk about in terms of having a physical lawsuit open is going to be Texas. Now, with Texas, it's a little bit of an interesting story, and I know especially because there's a lot of people based off of the comments that are from Texas, and because it is, after all, one of the biggest states in the entire country. The story with Texas is that it's a little bit interesting because, as most of you guys probably know if you've been following, is that they sadly were denied the injunction the first time. And what's going on now is that there is now another attorney, so another case that's being happening there, where they're trying to now play and try again, actually, to hopefully try to create the injunction to stop them. We don't know what's going on there because we don't have a decision made there, but the idea is that sadly they were denied the first time, but they're going to try one more time. We don't know what's going to happen. The big thing, I think the biggest struggle is really just the fact that because almost every lawsuit, there is still a relative subjective side to it because you don't know what the judge is going to say, and at the end of the day, a lot of this is relatively subjective because you're talking about interpreting the law, so we don't know which ways, as opposed to if this is like a mathematical kind of story. But the idea is that we're pretty much just waiting for decisions, and that's really the biggest update that we have over there. But outside of these 4 lawsuits, I think one state that has something interesting going on now, that's not necessarily a lawsuit, but it actually happens to be Oklahoma. So if by any chance you happen to be in Oklahoma, one thing that recently did come out is that they've actually officially now opened up the applications in order to create their back to work bonus to give you guys $1,200 if you guys are hopefully able to go back to full-time work. This is actually technically happening in several states. We talked a little bit about that in one of the previous videos. I believe it's literally called Approved $2,000, and I'll put it at the very end screen because these are actual approved programs that can hopefully help as many people out as possible that are pretty much trying to incentivize or get people almost as like a welcome package if you're able to go back to work. The only thing is that many of these states have approved the programs, but they haven't actually physically opened up the applications. The great news is that over this week, so just the last couple of days, Oklahoma has officially opened up their application. So if you happen to be there and you're trying to apply for work, or maybe you've already found work in general, this is something I think to definitely consider looking into, because we could be talking about an extra $1,200, which is hopefully just, I think at the end of the day, any amount inside of the bank, inside of the pocket, it can be very life-changing and helping. And I think that's maybe something to hopefully maybe look forward to if you happen to be there, or even in any of the actually several states that are doing it right now. But aside from this is what I really just wanted to cover in today's update. So lots of new information, and also lots of new information to hopefully expect soon when they hopefully make their decisions, their more official decisions coming up in hopefully over the next couple of days. We just kind of have to see because things can change. I think at this current time of all of the states, if there's one state that is the most likely to have success, and it's not official yet, but the one that I think that's most likely to have success to bring it back, if one of them does, is actually probably Maryland, which is the reason why we spent a lot of this video talking about it. And the biggest reason why is because they currently are the only state that has a lawsuit to try to bring back unemployment, but they're also the only state that hasn't actually physically ended unemployment, so they don't have to go through some kind of logistic barrier like in Indiana because they've already ended to have to try to make the effort to bring it back. With Maryland, the goal is that if they're able to at least extend the injunction until basically, let's just say hopefully as long as possible, or even win the case, which would be even better, in their particular state, in order to continue the unemployment, all they really have to do is nothing, because they're already on the program. So really the only thing from here is just to do nothing, and then hopefully people can continue to collect until the actual official end date. But beyond that, that's pretty much what I really wanted to share in today's update. So if you guys found some insight, maybe consider smashing the like button. If you guys haven't done so, consider subscribing and hitting the bell. And as always, feel free to comment any questions, thoughts about honestly just really anything at all. And with that being said, thank you guys so much for watching. Stay safe, stay well, and hope to see you guys next time. Thank you guys so much again.